Hey there and welcome to the craft room. My name's Julianne Richards and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in southern Tasmania. I'm actually on holidays at the moment. When you're watching this video, I'm probably somewhere off the east coast of Australia, hopefully not burning to a crisp or dehydrating to a husk. So we'll see how we go. It's supposed to be very hot up there the time we're there, so we'll see how we go. But while I'm gone, I thought I would record some videos to play for you and keep sharing some of the wonderful products from the new January to April mini catalogue. Now, this is an unusual one for me. It's the Hills of Tuscany. It's a standalone stamp set. It has lots of images there so you can make some scenes, skies, hills, a little house there, as you can see we've done in the picture there, some trees, some quite cute little sentiments as well that go quite well with the sort of serenity of the scene, as I say, clouds and a sun there as well. So I've had a play. As I say, this is probably the first landscape or sort of watercolour landscape stamp set that I've actually bought. So I really wanted to extend myself a wee bit and do something a little bit different for me. So yeah, that's what I thought I would try. First of all, I need to be upfront and thank Michelle Zindorf, an American or US demonstrator, for her colour scheme and a couple of hints as far as this layout's concerned. Hers was glorious, absolutely wonderful. So I thought if I was going to start, I wanted to start with something like this. The big hint that I have for this particular layout and what I picked up from Michelle was that the little house has actually been clear embossed. So what actually happens is that you clear embossing the little house, the inks and the stamps that you stamp around it and above it will not stick to the house. So it's resist, ink resist technique that won't go over it. So you can make things look like they're going behind, they're coming in front, and the house itself remains clear of ink. So that's the big hint there. And also the lines of crops here at the front, with the way that they start off in the distance and seem to come at you in the scene as well. So really lovely. Michelle made hers into a fun fold card, so if you want to pop over to YouTube and check out her video, as I say, it's Michelle Zindorf. I've just popped it onto a square card here with some of the lovely greens and blackberry bliss from the card itself. But let's get started, and you can see what I've learnt for this one. Okay, so we're starting just with a white piece of cardstock. Eventually I'm going to trim this down to 3.5 inches square, but I've got it slightly bigger just so I can make sure I get everything in there and have the edges nice and continuous. I'm going to start, as I say, with our little house and heat embossing it. So the house itself will be wild wheat. So I've got my wild wheat here, and I'll go with my little house. So block that up, wild wheat. So a bit of a guesstimate really where we're going to pop this one in the final sort of course of events, because we're not putting anything around it just yet. But I'll probably sort of like top half towards the left-hand side. There. Okay, so that's obviously wild wheat is quite dark when we first stamp it, but it will lighten as it dries. Okay, so now I've got that done, I will grab my Versamark ink. I'm going to wipe off my, where's my wipes? My wipes have gone missing. That's all right, I've got a dry one here, it'll have to do. Wonder where they went. You're always here. Okay, we're going to grab our Versamark ink and go make that nice and inked up and go straight over. Now with the clear blocks and the clear stamp, you can line up the windows pretty nicely and know that you're stamping over where you should be stamping, she says. Struggling, but there it is. Here we are. So that's got the Versamark ink there. You probably have seen a technique where people go into the ink first and then straight into the Versamark, or into the Versamark and then into the ink, and they do it all in one stamp. I couldn't quite get that to work myself because I wasn't getting enough Versamark ink on it. So 2 separate stamps, it doesn't matter too much, and I found I got a really good coverage of Versamark. Now I'm going to swap to my Cajun Craze, and I'm going to stamp the roof. So we've got a lovely sort of terracotta tile roof on our farmhouse. So it's a 2-part stamping. You just basically bring that in and stamp. And the roof just adds a real sort of dimension to the scene. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the Versamark ink and come back in and stamp over it. As I say, you do see the technique where they do both at the same time. I think I get better coverage with the Versamark when I do it this way, but that's entirely up to you. Before I do anything else, I'm going to grab my black marker, which is here somewhere. I've kept it out. I'm going to just colour in the little windows before I do anything else, just so that they look a bit more natural. I don't know about these old, from our time over in France and Italy. These old farmhouses always seem to be quite dark inside, obviously before they're bought and renovated, but yes, we would visit some old farmhouses and they were very dark, and I think it helped keep them warm in the winter and cool in the summer without huge windows. So I've got my clear embossing powder. I'll just pop it straight over there. Clean that up in a minute. And we will grab the heat gun. Just bear with me for a second and a bit of noise as we get this happening. I haven't got any sunshine in the craft room at the moment, so I can't tell whether that's gone or not. I'm going to assume it is. I usually tell from the gleam on it, but yeah, it looks like it's pretty much... No, not quite. Just there. Just bear with me, I'll just... one last little bit there. That looks better. Okay, so that looks like it's all nice and shiny now. Okay, so that makes the glass hat, the little farmhouse, like impervious to ink, but also gives it a lovely shine and makes it stand out as well. So very, very good technique. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, and this is different to Michelle's card, I'm going to grab my Balmy Blue ink pad and my blue For Everything blue brush. Excuse me, blending brush. Grab my sheet of paper. I'm just going to very lightly colour the sky above and around the farmhouse. Now, not too dark because I am going to bring in the stamps from the stamp set that are supposed to be sky, but I thought when I did this myself, I thought it was a bit stark. It was a bit, yeah, too much contrast between the beautiful sky. You actually get this sort of little stamp here that's got light and dark and patches of white. So it's supposed to sort of be a sunny sort of sky with the touch of cloud around and all that sort of lovely detail. So this is my Balmy Blue again. I'm going to stamp off once and then bring it in over the scene. Now, as we said, it doesn't matter too much now if you actually go over your house a wee bit because it's got the embossing powder on it, on the embossing. It's been heat embossed and it won't get any more ink on it. So there's our little sky. As you can see, light, dark, patches of cloud, just perfect. Okay, so now we're going to swap over to our old olive ink, and I'm going to wish I could find my wipes. Oh, hang on, they're falling on the floor. As usual, falling on the floor. So I'll clean up this stamp as we go and pop it back. So we're going to grab our old olive ink. We're going to pop in some hills around our house, our farmhouse. So there's lots of hills in the stamp set you can use. This one's quite a large hill, probably for the background. There's other bits of the hills. You can obviously make them different types of green. This one here, I think you probably would pop that on the top of a hill, make it a darker green. It looks like there's trees in the background, way in the background. I'm just using this little one, this little sort of quite nondescript, indiscriminate little, not indiscriminate, sort of just, you know, underwhelming in a way, little stamp here. And I'm going to use our, as I say, old olive to give us some lovely hills around our farmhouse. Where did I put it? There's my old olive. Where'd the block go? Oh, goodness, that's not that one. Where did I put it? No. It's not sitting here looking at me, is it? No. Drop it. No. How infuriating. It was here 2 seconds ago. Where did it go? You're probably doing the old "it's behind you, Julianne" routine, and I'm still missing it. Oh, goodness me. I had it. I put it on the block, not that one. No. Oh. Infuriating. I can't see it for looking. What did I put it on? Not that one. Drop it. Oh, it's there. Oh, goodness me. It was on the bench in front of me and I couldn't see it for looking. Apologies for that. That seems to be how I spend half my time. Okay, so we've got our little hill here, finally. Phew, I thought I'd dropped it and lost it forever. And as I say, because we've heat embossed our little farmhouse, we can basically just put our hills so that they look like they're behind our farmhouse and the ink won't stick. So we're just going to give some hills, not worry too much about leaving white bits because that just looks like the sun's shining through a cloud or something like that. There we are. Okay, so we'll just give that some rolling hills. And that just looks amazing. It looks so effective. I'm really, really happy with that. Now we're going to go a slightly darker green. I'm going to go for our mossy meadow and do some trees. Now there's some trees, there's sets of trees in the stamp set. There's one set that has one bunch of trees that has 5 and there's one bunch of trees that has 3. I'm going to use the bunch that has 5. Doesn't really matter too much. Pop them on a block without losing them this time. There we go. Now make sure, in this case, once you're going darker and darker, you're sort of wanting things to come into the foreground a wee bit. So just make sure your ink pad is nice and juicy so that you get full coverage. Otherwise you're going to be able to see the shadows through, which is not really what we want. see the previous colours through. Put those trees on slightly different angles so that they look like they're in the foreground and going back to the background. And there we go. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, so now we want to make that foreground with our field. Now, very clever Michelle actually just grabbed her crumb cake stamp pad and ran it just across the front like that. And I did that with my very new and very juicy stamp pad, and it just became a big block of solid colour. So I'm not going to go for that this time. I'm going to grab my brush, my blending brush, and my crumb cake ink, and I'm going to just sponge the field in the front. So the way, if you can imagine a field would look, it would probably be darker in the foreground where you can see it more clearly, and it would gradually get lighter as it went further away. That's what I'm going to do. So here is what we're doing. Okay, so that's our little field in the front there. Gorgeous. Okay, now the really clever part of this one is that we're using another little stamp that looks like it would be easily forgotten. This little spots here, just these little spots here. And we're going to pop them on a pad. We're going to use those to make the crop lines, the lines of crops in the foreground. So I've got my old olive again, so that's it, and the spots. I'm going to use them sort of as vertical rows. So starting up here and coming forward. So if you imagine when you're looking at a field or something that's coming towards you, they actually get bigger and thicker as they come. They start really tiny in the background and get thicker as they come towards you. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start them small and then make it like double thickness as it gets towards you a bit. Like that, see? And that as well, we've got the perspective of them sort of splaling out so that they look like you've got that perspective of them being, I don't know what to call it. Perspective, I suppose, is the word I'm looking for, and that's what it is. So doing it on both sides. Making it thicker in the foreground. Here we are. How's that? Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, now we want our crops to have some little flowers, like they're I don't know, like it's I don't know what they grow in Tuscany. Maybe it's red wine grapes. Could be a vineyard. That would be pretty awesome. So we'll say that this is red wine grapes. I don't know whether that's what they look like, but that's what we're using. So we've swapped to our Blackberry Bliss. I'm going to use the same spots. I'm going to rotate the ink, the stamp a bit so that they just don't look samey. And we're just going to give each row, just doing exactly the same thing as we did before, giving them the Blackberry Bliss highlights. So our grapes, if that's what they are ready for picking. There we are. I could have that framed, I think, and make a lovely postcard picture. Okay, I'm going to break my heart now. I'm going to trim this down to 3 1/4 square. So I know I've got a bit of an ink splodge up the top corner there, so that's going to go in the cut. Let's just grab our trimmer. And the stamp set just went on the floor. So 3 1/4, basically going to get rid of, no, 3 1/2 actually. Is that 3 1/2? Bear with me, I don't want to make it too small and ruin it. Let's see. Yes, I'm going to reduce it to 3 1/2. So I don't want to get rid of too much sky, so I'll just trim it to the point where that splodge was. And 3 1/2. There. Then it's still breaking my heart having to do it. Get rid of just a little bit off that side and a little bit off that side. Okay, so that's the size of the scene we want. Of course, if you wanted to keep it bigger and make it the sort of the whole card front, then that would work too, of course. Okay, so let's grab the rest of our card. I have a layer of Blackberry Bliss, which is 3 3/4 square. So I'm going to grab some glue and add that. There we are. Then I've got a layer of Old Olive, and I've popped that through the countryside in embossing folder, just because I thought it's a countryside scene, so the nice little flowers and swirls would be quite appropriate. I'm going to pop that on my 5-inch square Blackberry Bliss card base, just like this. There. Then I'm going to, before I do anything else, I'm going to put a little sentiment on the front of here. So I thought this one would be perfect for somebody who was retiring and decided to travel as part of their retirement, that sort of thing. I thought that was probably a very appropriate scene, heading off to Italy or something for your grand tour. So I thought from Sentimental Park, there's Your New Adventure is one of the stamps in that. So I thought, well, that's a pretty good adventure. Either that or they're moving to Tuscany to open a vineyard, which is even better, I'm sure. So I've got just some dark, because I'm doing it on the blue, I'm going to use my Night of Navy ink just to be a darker blue. Pop that over there where the sky is sort of lightest. There we go, Your New Adventure. You could pop it on a sentiment box and put it on there as well, but I really didn't want to cover any more of our little scene than I actually had to, so I kept it just straight on there, so you can see keep seeing all the gorgeous surrounds. Pop this one on some dimensionals. Pop a panel inside, of course, later date. Pop that on there. And there we are. Just as far as embellishments goes, I really didn't want to put any sort of bling there just for the sake of bling. It just wouldn't stand out wouldn't look very along the theme of my card. So I found the birds and dragonflies, little gold birds and dragonflies. They go with the Meandering Meadow suite. And I thought if we're in the countryside of Tuscany, there's going to be dragonflies hovering around in the summer. So I'll grab a little dragonfly, just pop it there in the sky near the sentiment, and that's the only embellishment that I'm using. Okay, so there we are. So that is the Hills of Tuscany. Hopefully you like that. You've got a bit of a vineyard thing happening there with some lovely hills and some trees and that gorgeous farmhouse, which does have a wee bit of shine to it. But as I say, really just to help us letting that scene grow around it without ruining the gorgeous brickwork of the farmhouse. So there we are. Hopefully you like that one. as I say, it is down here on the floor. It is the Hills of Tuscany stamp set, standalone stamp set. Doesn't have any dies or anything that goes with it. But yeah, you're really just limited by your imagination as far as those hills and things and the sky is concerned to make some gorgeous, gorgeous landscapes just like this one. Okay, so thanks. I hope you enjoyed that one. Keep an eye out for future premieres while I'm away. I'll line them all up so they come to you. Hopefully you'll see something you like. But I say, I will be monitoring my social media, so if there's any questions, please reach out and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So have a great day. I'll see you soon.